Hey guys, Blair13579 here, and welcome to my top 10 favorite video games. This first game was just short of making the list, and so we start off with our honorable mention, Guitar Hero 3. Really, it could be any Guitar Hero, but this is the one I've played the most and enjoy the most. Guitar Hero is really a series that is not for everyone. If you try it and don't like it, there's not really anything I can say, but for me, I could basically play it for hours on end. I really like it. One of the greatest things about this whole series is the fact that you get to play music as a game. It's not hard to use like real instruments can be, but is really satisfying. Also, the music is real music, like music you'd hear on the radio or something, like rock bands. Also, if guitar isn't your thing, later games in the series add drums and singing, so unless you don't like any of those and you're a fan of music, there's no reason not to try it. The main reason it didn't make the list was because compared to the others, it's not really a full fleshed out game as compared to them, but that doesn't make this game any less fun. Number 10 goes to The World Ends With You. You may have heard of this game, or you may not. It's fairly well known, but there are a lot of people who don't know about it. It's a game that is so unique, I find it tough to think of where to start. Let's start with the gameplay. In The World Ends With You, you play as Neku, who is part of the Reaper's game. This game takes place in Shibuya, which is a real place in Japan. You basically walk around going to different places in the city, completing the missions every day. You can read people's thoughts, buy clothing and food, and not to mention get into battles. Yes, there's combat too. The enemies you'll face are called noise, and you use pins to attack them. Each pin has a different effect, and pins can level up to get stronger. Not to mention, you have a partner who battles on the top screen at the same time as you, and you can actually control them as well, although it does get quite hectic, and you don't have to control your partner, which I don't. Add a great story, great music and visuals, and you've got yourself an amazing game. Number 9 is Professor Layton and the Unwound Future, or Professor Layton and the Lost Future for you people in Europe. Now, I'm a big fan of this series. I have all the games in it that are out in North America right now, but I have to say that this game is my favorite. It has the best story, which for the Layton series is saying a lot. For you people who know nothing about the series, and let me just say that's going to be my philosophy for this entire video, this is a game where you are trying to solve a mystery, and you go around talking to people trying to do so. Meanwhile, the main aspect of gameplay you'll find is solving puzzles. In each Layton game, there are around 150 puzzles for you to solve, and as you go around the cities, you'll be given more puzzles all the time. Of course, if you get tired of solving them, you can just not talk to people, but where's the fun in that? If you don't like having to think long and hard about some things, the Layton games may not be for you, but they are for me, and I love them. Number 8 is Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Now, I had Melee for the longest time, and when I got Brawl, it blew me away. There's just so much content in the game that you basically can play it forever and still have not completed it. Plus, there are a bunch of characters that have never been seen like they have been in Brawl, some of my favorite characters ever. The best example of this is Pit, who was reimagined to such an extent that there was actually an entire game made after that. The amount of remixed music in this game is also astounding, and the quality of all these tracks is extremely high as well. Probably the biggest complaint about this game is how slow the combat is as compared to Melee. Now, I've never really been someone who plays or even enjoys fighting games, besides the Smash Bros. Series, so for me this really isn't an issue. It's extremely fun for me to play the game with my friends, and hopefully Smash Bros. On Wii U and 3DS will surpass it even more. Number 7 is Super Mario RPG. Now, as you probably know, there have been many Mario role-playing games. There's been the entire Mario and Luigi and Paper Mario series. But of all these games, Mario RPG is my favorite. Maybe because it was made by Square. But seriously, this game is great. It's simplistic and doesn't overwhelm you with lots of stats and items and quests and things like that. It refines it so that even those who are not big turn-based RPG players can play. And that's what I love about it. You're not focused on all these complicated things, you're able to enjoy the other things. But Blair, what other things are you talking about? Well, boy, am I glad you asked. This game has hands down one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. Don't believe me? You're a loss. If you're into rock or metal music, Johnny Atma has created an almost 40-minute remix of nearly every song in the game, and it's fantastic, so check it out. Link will be in the description. Also, there is quite a bit of humor in this game, something I really like. The rendered visuals are pretty good too, and while there are some palette swap enemies, there are a lot of original ones as well. There's also some platforming involved in traversing the environments, which is nice. Overall, a great game, and it might be higher if it didn't have such fierce competition. Number 6 is actually a tie between two games of the same series, and funny enough, there are only 3 games in this series. These 2 games are Earthbound and Mother3. These games are so fantastic, it's really hard to describe them. The reason they are tied with each other is because these games are actually quite different, and I really couldn't choose one over the other. Let's start by talking about Earthbound. Earthbound is a game that really doesn't take itself too seriously. It's one of the only games I know that actually makes fun of itself. It's got a lot of great humor in it, and, well, just check out this item description. It has charming visuals that I personally like, but I know some people do not, and great music. The combat in Earthbound is very simple, introducing a scrolling HP bar, which adds a new dimension to the combat in the game. There are magic spells which you get along the way, and many different items as well. Earthbound also has a great story, but not as good as the game is tied with, which is Mother 3. Mother 3 is similar to Earthbound in a few aspects. Combat is basically identical, although the HP does scroll slower, and there is a combo system implemented. If you press the A button along to the beat of the music, you can get combo hits. There is an item that helps you hear the beat, and early on it's tough to get a long combo. However, one of the major differences between these two games is the story and how it progresses. In Mother 3, the game is divided into chapters, really emphasizing how important the story is in this game as opposed to, well, everything else. And I'm not going to say anything at all about the story, you really need to play it for yourself. The music is also great in Mother 3, and the visuals have been slightly updated to look cleaner. Really, I can't say enough how much I like these games, and if you have a Wii U, go and buy Earthbound today. Number 5 goes to Kingdom Hearts 2. Now I already talked about this game in my top 7 Kingdom Hearts games, but I'll talk about it again. Kingdom Hearts 2 is a great game. It is quite a bit of content and you can tell they put a lot of work into it. There are a lot of fully voice acted cutscenes and even a few CGI cutscenes that look amazing. There are a lot of worlds to explore as well, some returning from Kingdom Hearts 1, but none exactly the same. The gameplay is also great. It's very satisfying to beat up enemies using the basic Keyblade combos, especially while equipped with the Combo Plus and Air Combo Plus abilities. This game uses the magic system, where you only have a certain amount of magic power to use your spells. It's implemented pretty well, but I wish using a cure move didn't always take up all your MP, but that's just a personal opinion. And this game also uses drives, which is a mode where Sora gets a huge boost in a particular area, whether it is attack, magic, or both, and can destroy nearly everything in his path. The story in this game is also great, but I won't spoil that for you. If you're new to the series, I wouldn't recommend playing this one first. That would be Birth by Sleep or Kingdom Hearts 1, but this one is definitely my favorite. Now, I don't think I need to tell you what Pokemon is, and I don't think I need to tell you that it's one of my favorite series ever. But I do think I need to tell you what my favorite game in the series is. A few years ago, Game Freak and Nintendo released Pokemon Black and White, two games that revolutionized the series up to that point, but that's not my favorite. Number 4 goes to Pokemon Black and White 2, the sequels to Black and White. While I think those games were great, Pokemon Black and White 2 took all that was good about the original Black and White and added even more. One of the best things they added was the Pokemon World Tournament, or PWT. In it, you could battle gym leaders and champions from every Pokemon game up to date, with all updated music and sprites. Well, most with updated music and sprites. Still, this really felt like they put most of the nostalgic parts of the entire series into one, and I think it's one of the best parts in the entire game. They also added other things. Pokestar Studios is kinda fun, but it gets repetitive after a while. Not to mention there's a bunch of new towns and routes, and even new gyms. But really, it's Pokemon, and it's hard to go wrong there. Number 3 goes to Super Mario Sunshine. Now I know some of you may be thinking, wait, didn't you already have Mario RPG on the list? Well, yes I did. Personally, I don't think it's fair to consider all Mario games to be in the same series. Mario RPG was representing the role-playing Mario games, and Mario Sunshine is representing the main series platform Mario games. Now in terms of this game, I actually have some strong opinions. I could make a whole video about this one game, and I've actually considered doing so, but I'll just talk about it here. For me, ever since this game was released, no other Mario game has been able to meet the same standard this game has set. In fact, they've only continued to get farther away from it. Let's look at the key aspects of why this game and its prequel, Mario 64, are so great. Yes, Mario 64 is my second favorite Mario game, only shortly falling behind this one, but we'll get to that later. The whole emphasis with these games was the free roaming settings, where you could wander around for hours just admiring the environments. Take the overworlds, Delfino Plaza and Peach's Castle. There is so much to do and see, and so many places to go that it creates its own unique experience. In Mario Galaxy, that overworld was shrunken to Rosalina's ship, and Galaxy 2 shrunken even more to Starship Mario. Also, in Mario Galaxy, there were a few buildings where you could choose your world, as opposed to finding the different worlds scattered across the overworld. In Galaxy 2, you have a level select screen. Hopefully you see where I'm going with this, and if you don't, just ask yourself, whatever happened to the 100 coin missions where the point was to roam the environment and search for everything you could find? And look at Super Mario 3D Land and Super Mario 3D World, where they actually brought back the whole World 1-1, 1-2 concept, which completely destroys the idea of an open world. These games are still great, but there's no incentive to explore, something which has always made Sunshine and Mario 64 my favorite games in the entire series. As for why Sunshine is over 64, it feels feels cleaner and more polished, the worlds are brought to life with NPCs, something Mario 64 was really lacking, and Flood, who adds a whole new level of traversing the previously mentioned environments. Sorry for this rant, but I really want everyone to see my perspective of things, and just to get my ideas out there. Moving on! Boy, these last games are littered with controversy. Number 2 goes to Kid Icarus Uprising. Now, hands down, the biggest thing I hear about this game is the controls. People have actually said this is one of the worst controlled games of all time. That makes me really angry because I completely disagree. This game has good controls. The problem is people don't know the best way to play. You know the stand that comes with the game? Pay no attention to it. None. They should have put a sticker on it that says Lawsuit Protector, because that's all it is. If you watch this video, you'll see the best way to play, using your ring finger to support the system while you play. If you're left-handed, I can't exactly help you because I'm not left-handed, but I'm guessing a similar technique might work. Anyway, enough about the controls and onto the game itself. This game is amazing. There's so much to do that you can basically play it forever. Wait, didn't I say this about Brawl? Well, the same person, Mr. Sakurai, is actually behind both of these games. And it shows. First, let me just say that this game looks beautiful, especially for a 3DS game. Next, let me talk about the gameplay. There are two styles of gameplay, air battle and land battle. Air battle is like Star Fox, where you're basically on a set path, defeating enemies as you reach the goal. Land battle is where it really gets interesting. While it is still get from point A to point B, you can take your time and find secret pathways as you do so. The combat is quite different here as well. There is an online feature of this game which is really fun, and in it you play land battle against other people. Personally, land battle is more fun for me, and I'm not really sure why, but maybe because there's more freedom. Now, I haven't even talked about one of the biggest parts of this game yet, the weapons. There are multiple classes of weapons you can choose from, each giving a very distinct experience of battle, both land and air. In each class, there's also a large selection of specific weapons with varying effects. You get weapons from beating levels, finding them in levels, buying them, winning them online, and most importantly, fusing other weapons to get new ones. Each weapon has bonuses that can make the same weapon completely different. While fusing weapons, some bonuses are transferred from the old weapons to the new one, as well as the power being set based on the power of these base weapons. Now this is getting complicated, so I'll just stop and say, play this game! Now for number 1. If you've seen my top 15 Zelda games video, you know what this is. My number 1 favorite video game of all time is The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Now there is a lot to say about this game, so let's start off with what I like about it so much, how smooth everything feels. If you've ever played the game, you know what I'm talking about. The game is very smooth in its visuals and how it runs, and everything has been done to fully optimize the gaming experience. But seriously, this game is made so that almost anyone can enjoy it, young or old. It's also made so that you really appreciate everything they've put into the game as you're playing it. When you're sailing around, what are you doing? Admiring the atmosphere, looking in the distance, and it really makes it feel like it's you on this journey, and that's probably why I like it so much. It really sets the bar as a game of its own, apart from the rest of the series. It has great characters and moments, great boss battles, and some great quests too. Overall, I can't say enough good things about this game. Well, actually, here's one more. For those of you who haven't played this game, it's going to be out on HD on Wii U. It might even be out when you're seeing this video. So unless you have no intention of playing on a Nintendo system again, there's no reason for you to not play Wind Waker. I recommend it fully, as it's my favorite video game of all time. Thanks for watching my top 10 favorite video games, everyone. Please check out 2 of my other lists in the annotations below. If you enjoyed it, then hit that like button. Also, consider subscribing. It'll let you know when my new videos are out, because, well, that's what it's for.